That's right, Thunder Dragons are back. We have some hero love for you and Mikanko, along with a couple of other decks from regionals that didn't really have enough data to cover them. Make sure you guys smash the crap out of that subscribe button so you guys don't miss out on more awesome content. The first list we're going to be looking at here is Thunder Dragon Bysteel. Now, this should be a pretty mainstay, stay that we've seen pop up every once in a while here. But we are playing Book of Eclipses here to kind of detour a lot of the metagame, I guess, big boys in the room where you're going to, make the big swings, set them back to the field, and not really worry about them. It is literally clean up aisle 9. Outside of that, the Thunder Dragon pile gets access to just link climbing shenanigans. The way it looks for this particular build. We're not doing Titan things. We're just taking advantage of the consistency that the Thunder Dragon package kind of brings to the table and just how good Battery Man Solar actually is. So you have triple copies of Solar. You got one copy of the Collapse Serpent with the one Boldrake, one Durasworm, and of course triple Magna Nut. Then you got two Saronir, one copy of Levianeer, triple copies of Danger Nessie with the one Jackalope, the one Tsuchinoko with the one Darkest. I almost said this was Diabellstar. This is technically a broken card. We also have one Starly Shayfort, one Lubellion, your one Dragon Dark, one Dragon Hawk, one Dragon Roar, and one Wyvern Buster. And then we have triple Aura Darkness for draw power, triple copies of Book of Eclipse to reset everything, one Branded Regained, one Called by the Grave, your triple Chaos Space, one Dragon Ravine, two Melody, and two copies of Thine Talents. And then we have one Underworld Goddess, one Striker Dragon, one Saruja, with one Unicorn. We also have one Phoenix, one IP, one copy of the Heavenly Spheres, Pisty, and then we have Ram, the Dahark, the Apollosi, the beautiful Hope Harbinger with the Atom, the Zeus, and the Beatrice. And then, of course, we have triple Dimension Shifter because our deck actually kind of wants this card to resolve. We have triple Droll Knockbird, we have one Scattershot for Time, two copies of Cosmic Cyclone, one Branded Beast, two Eradicator, and triple copies of Evenly Matched here, wrapping up this list. And yes, the EEVs, or the Branded Beast here, also is pretty good for, when you need to board this in and be able to pressure the opponent. Next up here, we have some hero action, and, pretty much, or to no shocker here, we've seen the Elemental Hero Neos package sticking around and continuing to be a very strong piece here, especially when you can Infernal Divisor, reveal, go search it, and all of a sudden now you're pressuring your opponent and they're not going to really have a method of control for this. So I think that this is actually pretty good, and of course, maximizing the Fusion Destiny package to the absolute maximum limit to make sure you can do your thing. And of course, we are playing double book here and double droplet, but these are just pieces that kind of come along with the meta to ensure that, you can do your thing. So we have two copies of Ash Blossom and Joy Spring. We have the one Dark Angel, pretty much a staple at this point. You have the one Denier, your two Malicious with your one Plasma. Also have triple Droll Knockbird with your one Liquid Soldier, one Shadow Mist, two Stratos. Also have triple copies of Forest with your two Increase. We also have two Vion, the one Neos with your triple Hero Lives, your two Book of Eclipse, the one Called by, the one Foolish. Then of course we have two Droplet, triple copies of Fusion Destiny, two Mash Change. Also have one Miracle Fusion, one Poly, one Rhoda, one Favorite Contact, and two copies of Infinite Permanence. Then down in the extra deck, we got some pretty standard faces down here. We have the one Wonder Driver, the one Infernal Divisor, the one Dread Decimator, two Cross Crusaders, your one Wake Up Your Elemental Hero, two Dark Law, one Blast, one Sunrise, the one Shining Flare Neos Wingman, the Infernal Rage, the Absolute Zero, the DP, and the Dangerous. And then we have two Ghost Bell, two copies of Sphere Mode, two Dark Ruler, one Feather Duster, triple Dimensional Barrier, triple copies of Evenly, and two copies of Rivalry of the Warlords here, wrapping this up. Now back to the little tech choices here. Yeah, I understand that Kashtira is still a deck in the room that you do kind of have to play around at certain points, but this is still something that in every other matchup feels like a power card at this point in time. The fact that you can detour your opponent so strongly with this card, and yeah, Mr. Arise Heart is a problem, I get it, but little things to consider out here. Next up here, we have some Mikanko. The actual value on Arahima here. I know a lot of people look at this one and they're like, this thing sucks. Like, why do we want to play this one? It is one more name. That's really about it, honestly. I can't even remember all the value that it does. It just does the same thing effectively as this one, with a little bit, harder to get out because of the star restrictions. Blah, blah, blah. Nothing really too explanatory about this. So we have two copies of your Ash Blossom and Joy Spring. I also have one Doggeron, two copies of the Droll and Lockbird. We got two copies of Hare, two copies of Huli. Huli is still the most insane Mikanko. We also have one Jizukuru, 2 copies of Lava Golem, 1 copy of Nini, 1 copy of Thunder King Kaiju. We also have 1 Arahime with triple copies of Ohime. We have the 1 Called by the Grave. We also have 1 of the Double-Edged Sword. Oh yeah, this card is the good stuff. We also have 1 Feather Duster, 2 Lightning Storm, 1 copy of the Maya Wishidori, 2 Fire Dance with the 1 copy of the Mikanko Kagura. You have the 1 Reflection Rondo, triple copies of the Water Ebereske, and then we're just playing 2 copies of Pot of Extravagance. Honestly, I understand why you're not trying to bulk down on 3. It's just if you see it, it's good. If you don't, well, that's okay. We also have triple copies of Preparation and Rites, 2 Great Mikanko Ceremony, 1 Rivalry, and 1 Spirit Walk. Then we have 1 copy of the Underworld Goddess, 1 Unicorn, 1 Phoenix with the 1 IP, 1 Access Code, 1 Lavier with the 1 Sheridan. We also have 2 copies of the Power Tool Braver Dragon, 1 Charles with the 1 Roland. We have triple Herald and 1 Ints. Our side deck here is triple Diviner of the Herald, 2 Ghost Bell, triple Cosmic Cyclone, 2 Anti-Scan, 2 Royal Decree, and triple copies of There Can Only Be One. Wrapping up, honestly, a pretty straightforward take for this deck. It's nice to see that Arahime has found a spot in this deck, and it is still doing relatively well on the regional grind. Next up here, we have some Exo Sister. Now, the reason why I tossed it in here was this was an 11th place finish. That might not seem like an amazing placement for a lot of people, but let's be honest here. The further that this deck gets to the top, I mean, it's still a top 16 at the end of the day. That's still something that you do need to, talk about and mention. And of course, this build is playing a Necro Valley here as well. We have some books in here, I mean, as per everything in the meta playing book at this point. And of course, we have Dark Rule and Omor's to kind of clean up a lot of the other situation that's been put on the field. And also, I mean, goes in match. How good of a floodgate can you actually, set up? I mean, you got a couple of them here. Especially, when you're looking at more of these roguish regionals out here. Some of these matchups are actually pretty strong if they're going into the rogue field. So triple copies of Aratama, triple copies of Ash Blossom and Joy Spring, got triple copies of Dimension Shifter. We also have triple copies of Velas, 1 copy of Irene, triple copies of Martha, 2 copies of Sophia. We also have 2 copies of Stella, 2 copies of Sakitama, 2 copies of Book of Moon. Also have triple copies of Dark Rule no More, triple copies of Pax with your 1 Necro Valley. Got triple copies of Pot of Prosperity, 2 evenly matched, 2 copies of Returnia, 1 Vadis, and triple copies of Goes in Match here, just because, we want to punish the opponent. We also have 1 copy of Lingariba because we actually have to play this. It's very unfortunate, but I mean, if your opponent hands you a Nightmare Corrupt Ridley, you kind of just auto shut down. We have 1 Baguski, 1 Gagaga Cowboy, 2 Magnifica, triple copies of Mikhail's, 2 copies of Caspitiel, and then we have 1 Jabrian and 1 Osophiel. Then we have the 1 Exciton Knight, the 1 Zeus, and the 1 Abyss Dweller. Then we have 2 Cosmic Cyclone, 2 Lightning Storm, 1 Necro Valley, your triple copies of Dimensional Barrier, 1 evenly matched, triple Infinite Permanents, and of course, triple copies of the Solemn Judgment Man here, wrapping up the absolute coolness that is Exo Sister. I'm extremely happy to see that this deck has been performing out here to a very, very nice standard. And our last list here is some super heavy Samurai. I'm going to be honest with you, I didn't think we would see this deck perform at all. Actually, the deck has been pretty much lost to the chasm of time at this point in time. But a lot of duelists, I still believe in this deck. The Pendulum Scales are absolutely busted, and I think a lot of people do kind of agree with that. So they're still going to be reaching for new ways to do this. And the fact this deck did make top 8 out of its event is extremely nice. So we have 1 Gearbox, triple copies of Ash Blossom and Joy Spring, got the triple copies of the Droll and Lockbird, triple copies of Ghost Bell, also have triple copies of Mourner, 1 copy of the Tunneler, 2 Jizukuru, triple copies of the Motorbike, 2 copies of the Scales, 2 Soul Gaia Booster, triple copies of the Soul Peacemaker, triple Soul Piercer, 1 Stealthy, triple copies of the Wagon, 1 Regulus, 1 General Coral, 2 Big Benki, and of course triple Wakashi. Then we have 1 copy of the Commander, 1 copy of the Genius, 1 Donner. We also have 1 Apollosa, the 1 Ballista. We have 1 Merrymaker with 1 Baguski, 1 Sargass, 1 Geargigant, and 1 Zeus. We also have the 1 Tilting Entertainment, the 1 Sarutobi, the 1 Brave Musaro, the 1 Baron, and the 1 Excel Synchro Stardust. Then we have triple copies of Chaos Hunter, 1 Pinkertops with triple Kaiju. We also have triple Swash de Fleur, 2 Spell Canceller, 1 copy of the Gauntlet, 1 Thief, and 1 copy of the Orchid here. Wrapping up your chunk of, well, we didn't have enough data for these originals, or, these just had nothing else mentioned about them. So I wanted to go ahead and make a special video just showcasing a lot of the cool things that we're still kind of seeing out here working themselves out. So please, leave a comment down below, tell me what you guys think. Let's see your beautiful faces back here later in the day, guys. Peace out.
Patrons!
Thank you.
Thank you so much for watching. Check out these other videos.